Very good morning and greetings to all. I hope you all are doing well. As you can see, I am in the mountains exploring this beautiful space here. And there was a question about dark night of the soul. So I thought I'll explain my concept about it. So the question was, what happens or what comes after the dark night of the soul? Now, whenever I get a question, first I try to see is what is the real question behind the question that is being asked. So, usually, now this may be my assumption, but usually, when people ask me about the dark night of the soul, it is usually that they are troubled, emotionally disturbed by the dark night, and what they want to know is there a ray of hope? Is there a relief? Is there a light after the dark night of the soul, or is this depression going to eat me up? So my response is that conceptually, after the dark night of the soul is peace. But let's understand what that peace is. But before that, let's understand what dark night of the soul is. So dark night of the soul begins after awakening, which means there is a crack in the structure of the personality. The personality that I call as me. This me is an accumulation. It is made up of memory of past registration of concepts, theory, registration of everything that happened, registration of insults, hurts, everything, every accumulation. What should be, what should not be, is all memory. So what happens is that when these associations are stronger and abruptly there is a crack in the structure of the personality, what one finds is there is extreme pain, there is extreme confusion. And this state, Ramesh Balsekar called it the flip-flop. Flip-flop meaning one moment seems full of ecstasy, true connection with God, joy, abundance, and in the other moment it feels that everything is collapsing, the world is a horrible place, nothing works, and there is no end to this depression or sorrow that is now surrounding one. So it is clear that dark night of the soul is a movement in time where the mind lurks between past and the future. Now what happens is, as the concept of non-doership, that there is no individual doer of anything and all there is this which is happening. When this concept goes deep into the psyche, it begins to destroy these associations. And usually there is an imagined center that we call as me, which is at the center of all these associations. That me becomes loose. It becomes transparent. It is seen that it is an illusory concept. It is a conceptual thought. So it is not an intellectual understanding, but understanding of the heart. Understanding of the heart means it is not based on time. That means it does not matter what the external situation is. The internal peace remains unperturbed, even in difficult times. Now, momentary anxiety, momentary restlessness may be there because that's part of life and living, and human organism cannot escape it. But overall, life becomes peaceful because we do not live with the registration of concepts. with the registration that he did that to me, she did that to me, they were not unkind to me, bad things happened to me, horrible things happened to me, me, and all my me-centric activities begin to come to an end. So when this me begins to come to an end, this is what Ramesh Balsekar called as deliverance. Deliverance of the concept, that means final embodiment, which is the awakening of the heart. Which means it is not an intellectual knowledge. It is not a concept anymore, but it becomes one's truth. So, it naturally restores you to your most ordinary state. And Ramesh Balsekar called this state as the same joy that one experiences in deep sleep. Which means that while I live in the world, explore situations, people, circumstances, and what is happening, I do not cling to any of these as either my doing or the doing of others. I simply enjoy life. That means I witness life as an impartial observer, as a non-judgmental observer, sort of like from a bird's eye view, without being affected by what is happening or without taking any sides. It's like watching a tennis match without taking sides, without being with the either team. So you may say that, where's the fun in that? There's no excitement in that if I don't choose sides. And it is true, because excitement is the part of the me system. It is not about excitement, it is about peace. So, after dark night of the soul happens deliverance, comes deliverance, which means final embodiment of the concept of non-doership, which means deep peace, tranquility, and harmony with existence. You cannot accelerate this process, because the one that wants to accelerate through practices, through kriyas, through any other means and methodologies is the anxious me that wants to escape things right now because they seem uncomfortable. And in that wanting to escape things, the dark night of the soul becomes darker. It becomes unbearable pain. The moment, every moment when you keep repeating, why is this happening to me? Why am I troubled? How can I get out of this situation? When you're contemplating escapes, you're basically not accepting it. You're not surrendering to what is. And that exacerbates suffering. Because this separative ego mind, this conceptual thought, wants things a certain way. If the acceptance happens or deliverance happens, whatever you want to call it, these conditions dissolve. There is no urgency for the dark night of the soul to end. In fact, the mind becomes so subtle, so still, that it doesn't bother with trying to accelerate things, trying to accelerate peace, trying to hasten the process. It just surrenders to what is, which means it accepts things as they are happening. But the thing is that we get so upset emotionally because of this swing of pain and pleasure that we experience during dark night of the soul, that it becomes hard for us to actually not do anything about it. So we go to teachers, we go to masters, we try to reach out to people in the ashrams, and we try to do japa, kriya, meditation, which are all amazing practices as a part of the psychosomatic system. They're very beneficial and I highly recommend them. if you are someone who's experiencing dark night of the soul, because they will bring tremendous amount of relief to the mind body organism. In fact, I would also advocate therapy or talking to people around you. That would also bring tremendous relief. However, truly the end will come when you examine who you are, when there is self-inquiry happening, when you go deep within yourself and ask who I really am. With that question, the process of deliverance begins to happen faster. Now, I'm not telling you a method here to make it faster. I'm not saying that you should start the self-inquiry immediately, because that is again the ego mind's trick. What I'm telling you is that when self-inquiry will happen, that means you're not giving rise to it. You're allowing self-inquiry to happen at its own pace. So when self-inquiry will happen, the mind will turn inwards. That is when the possibility of peace begins to happen. That is when the deliverance is in progress. So it is a process. For some, it takes a lot of time, maybe a whole lifetime. For others, it can happen this instant. To be free of the dark night of the soul is to be free from the movement of time, because the movement of time is a me-centric movement. Now, please reflect on this statement. The movement of time is a me-centric movement. If you want, you can write in the comments, what is your understanding about it? What do you mean? What is your idea what thought comes to you when I say that the movement of time is a me-centric movement? Express in comments and let me know. And I want to see where exactly is your mind right now. So don't wait for the deliverance to happen, but go inwards and focus on whatever is arising there. And you will see that relief will happen. All right. As usual, I am going to explore this beautiful mountain. It's a small mountain. And some of you suggested trekking places also here. So I may, if I have the energy today, I may go and trek a couple of places. There is a beautiful temple nearby. I would like to go and see that. And also maybe later sit in a cafe, have some coffee and some good meal. And I hope you also live your life fully, enjoy yourself, and peace to all of you. Take care.